I am standing in Godrics Hollow, the new Godrics Hollow from the TV show for Harry Potter, probably. So this is the village of Lustleigh in Devon, and next week the Harry Potter TV show is going to be filming here. And I haven't confirmed that it's definitely Godric's Hollow, but if you look around, there's not many other places it could be. It could be Ottery St Catchpole, which is a village just by where the Burrow is, or it could be Hogsmeade as well. It matches the aesthetics with the cottages and how quaint it is. But given that they're filming season 1, and the Burrow isn't in things until the 2nd book, and Hogsmeade doesn't appear until the 3rd book, I think it stands to reason that this is probably Godric's Hollow. And that means in season 1, we'll probably be getting at least a scene, if not maybe a whole flashback episode, where we see Voldemort come to Godric's Hollow and kill the Potters. Now, obviously, when that happens, Harry doesn't really remember it. He's 1 year old. He doesn't really remember the year that he spent with his parents here before they were murdered. But because he returns in the Deathly Hallows with Hermione, we actually get a lot of descriptions about the village of Godric's Hollow. We know exactly what it should look like. We know exactly what's in the village. And I have to say, being here and surrounded by it, it feels like it fits perfectly. So behind me, you will see a bunch of cottages with thatched roofs, which perfectly fit that quaint village, especially a historic village like Godric's Hollow. Because not only did the Potters live here and were murdered here, but it's steeped in magical history. Godric Gryffindor apparently lived here, hence the name Godric's Hollow, and the first ever golden snitch was handcrafted in Godric's Hollow as well. We also know that Bathilda Bagshot lived here, as did the Dumbledores at some point. And almost certainly, one of the Peverell brothers who created the Deathly Hallows probably lived here too. So what do we know about the village, and does this fit? Like I say, quaint village, lots of cottages. It's said to have shops, a post office, a pub, and a church as well. And if you heard that bell, you can tell there is a church here. There are also a few other details in the book, and this is one of them. In Godric's Hollow, there is a war memorial among the cottages. And when magical people get close to the memorial, it transforms, it transfigures. And when Harry and Hermione go up to it, it turns into a statue commemorating the Potters. Like I say, they're not filming the 7th season right now. So obviously, if we're getting the scene in which the Potters die, they won't already be dead, meaning the memorial surely won't still be there. Now, it could be a number of things. Maybe it's just not there and then it's built by wizards once the Potters die, in which case they'll probably just get rid of that, like with magic VFX stuff that I don't understand. It could also be that there was a Muggle war memorial, and then after the Potters died, it was magically transfigured to commemorate them, but only for the eyes of wizards. But there's a third option as well. It could have been a magical memorial that transfigured into something else. Maybe Godric Gryffindor himself, since the place is named after him. When the Potters died, it was such a significant moment. Downfall of Voldemort, the first person to ever survive the killing curse. Some very powerful magical folks changed it to symbolize the Potters. Now, a big part of what happens when Harry and Hermione come to visit in the Deathly Hallows is they walk around the graveyard of the church, and the church here and the graveyard are beautiful and the perfect aesthetic. Now, when they walk around the graveyard, they find the tombstones of Lily and James Potter, obviously after they've died. But if they are filming the scenes that I think they're filming here, then obviously Lily and James not dead yet. But also buried in the graveyard in the church of Godric's Hollow, Dumbledore's mother and sister are both buried together here, as is Ignotus Peverell, one of the Peverell brothers who are known for creating the Deathly Hallows. And there's a good chance that Harry is the descendant of one of them. And I think it is Ignotus. Is it Ignotus? I think it's him. I always forget. And obviously, like I say, we're not going to get Lily and James's grave because they won't be dead yet if we're getting the scene in which they are killed. But if that's how the whole thing opens, there might be some establishing shots showing us the village, showing us maybe a memorial of Godric Gryffindor, which will later be changed to depict the Potters, and maybe some tombstones of people like Ignotus Peverell and of Dumbledore's mother and sister. But as you can see, it is a beautiful church, a gorgeous graveyard, very haunting. One other thing, if you don't try to ignore the Cursed Child like I do, pretty sure the Church of Godric's Hollow is where the big final battle from that play happens. To me, is also the village pub, which is going to be kind of important in the 7th season when Harry and Hermione visit. As they visit on Christmas Eve, there are lots of carols and jolliness generally coming from the pub, which is a really cool narrative device to create some juxtaposition, some contrast between Harry and Hermione feeling somber. You know, Ron's just left, they're visiting the place where Harry's parents died, feeling a little bit hopeless, a little bit alone, contrasted by the jolliness of, you know, the dawn of Christmas. People singing carols, there are lights and decorations everywhere. Again, that's obviously not something that we would get the night that Lily and James died. But one thing that we do learn about Godric's Hollow is that it seems very community focused. There's lots of bunting and lights and a caroling spirit. When Lily and James die, at least the wizards within the community create a magical memorial for them. Not just the war memorial that we've seen, but there's also something at the cottage which was destroyed upon their death. When Harry and Hermione approach it, they touch it and a sign emerges, saying they left the ruins there to commemorate the brutality of what happened, and also to signify the hope of Harry being the first person to survive the killing curse. place. And these people banding together at a time of loss, commemorating people who lived among them, that screams community, which is something we might see in the opening scene if we are getting the night that Lily and James died. If we are getting their time here in Godric's Hollow before Voldemort puts an end to it. We might see how loved and respected they were by the wizards and witches and maybe even the muggles if they interacted with them, that they lived among. And in villages like this, a big part of that community feeling is the pub. Coming up this road, because there are lots of different alleyways that Harry and Hermione walk up and down while they're perusing Godric's Hollow. They think that maybe Dumbledore entrusted Bathilda Bagshot with the true sword of Gryffindor, something we obviously know is not true. As they're walking around, before Nagini, disguised as Bathilda Bagshot, tempts them into Bathilda's house, they walk down a street and Hermione starts talking to Harry. He's distracted by something that happens at the end of this narrow passage of cottages. And what lies at the end of that street is the ruins of the cottage in which Harry's parents were killed. And it's never excavated or taken away. It's left there to remember them. Very much doubt it's going to be this street here. They have to put ruins at the end of it. They'll probably use some sort of set. But a narrow street with a big cottage or house or something at the end could be something like this. So now in the orchard of Lustleigh, I don't know that this will be important to anything about Godric's Hollow. There is a park here. Maybe we'll see baby Harry being pushed on the swings by James. We know from Voldemort's account of what happened that evening that James was very playful with Harry. Voldemort stands outside the cottage and watches James playing around with Harry through the window. There are a few other details that we know about. We know that Sirius bought Harry his first broom before the Potters were killed. We also know the first ever snitch was handcrafted at Godric's Hollow. So a big open field like this would be a great place for the Potters to come and play 2v2 Quidditch. I don't know who the fourth player would be. Maybe Bathilda gets involved. That's Lustleigh, the filming location probably for Godric's Hollow. And I think it's perfect. The vibe of the place, the aesthetics, all the little details of the village. One thing they've said about the show is they want to lean more into practical effects, less special effects, which I love. I'm very excited about that because practical effects age better. Whereas something that's rooted heavily in CGI, as the technology advances, audiences get used to higher quality CGI. So the older stuff dates quickly. So the fact that this already has quaint cottages, a church, a graveyard, a pub, a memorial or two they can use, it just feels like the perfect spot for them to use for Godric's Hollow and to film the death of Lily and James. Just imagine it, this peaceful, tranquil village, still on Halloween night. Pumpkins and orange lights in the pub. Young muggles trick-or-treating. Wizards and witches entertained by muggles dressed up like witches with their broomsticks and their cauldrons. And through the window of one of these cottages, we see James playing with Harry. But lurking in the distance by the church, obscured by shadow, is a cloaked figure. And we cut to the perspective of that figure as it walks down a path towards the cottages, past the memorial, right up to the door of the Potter's cottage. And the once peaceful Halloween night is disturbed by the spell that blows open the front door, by the cries of James for Lily to take Harry and run, of the explosion of the backfiring curse, and then the collapse of the cottage. And as it all begins to settle down, the Fidelius charm of course obscuring all of these things from anybody in the village, the peace is restored, broken only by the crying of the boy who lived. Now, while we're talking about the night that the Potters died, I actually feel that there are a few too many loopholes in the way those things unfolded. The Fidelius charm doesn't make sense. How did Wormtail get Voldemort's wand back after his body was destroyed? Well, in this video, I talk about how I would change what happened the night the Potters were killed to fix those loopholes and make it a little bit more heartbreaking for you. So you might want to go and watch that one next.